Welcome everyone. This is episode 50 of the Transmaxxing podcast, and today's topic is transitioning before 18. So we actually have a guest today, Green Biscuit. What brought you here to this podcast?
Yeah, that's me. So I think I really started my journey, well, pretty recently, only 2 years ago, and I would say that it has helped me out a lot. It definitely made me rediscover myself and find a better side to myself. And I just think that it should be more widespread knowledge that transitioning can actually be a helpful thing and it shouldn't be so demonized. Because well, the place where I'm from, it's seen as a very bad thing. It's seen like as a demonic evil almost.
I assume you live in some religious place.
Yeah, I'm from Romania actually, so I'm from a rural zone in Romania. So there's very little, well, there's almost no trans health care at all, or there's also very little tolerance of people. Even though the Romania was kind of forced to join in the EU and accept a lot of more modern policies, they still lag behind in a lot of their mentality. I don't know if you have experienced much of this on your own.
I do live in Sweden and people are, I guess, more accepting here, but authorities here have restricted
Yeah.
it recently, like a few years ago, because there was this propaganda anti-trans documentary made
Uh-huh.
by government media.
Oh, yeah, that happens a lot in Romania too. It's so bad that sometimes priests wouldn't even call trans people humans. They straight up just say that aren't deserving to be alive and that type of stuff. I find it very hurtful. I feel quite personally attacked whenever that is brought up. So that has definitely complicated my transvaccine journey, but I think that it's still very doable.
Yeah, basically, in a lot of places, it's nearly impossible to get access to healthcare via the official route. So you're kind of
Yeah,
forced into DIY HOT or repressing.
yeah, I would agree.
So, what made you think that the transitioning was something for you?
I mean, yeah, I would say that I don't regret it whatsoever. I mean, I know that my older brother and my mother have a pretty hard time with it. Wouldn't really have imagined that I could go through with such a life-changing decision, but I would say that it has been worth it so far.
But this is just cross-dressing so far. Did you start hormones yet?
Yeah, I tried taking some pills, but it's very tough to do long term because my family doesn't have a lot of money, and well, also there's no real way for me to get any real like long-term estrogen. So I had to basically buy some, I guess they're qualified as supplements, but really just estradiol from the pharmacy, since the nearest hospital is, I think, 30 kilometers away, really. And I had to act as if I was buying them for my mother, but in reality, I was getting them for myself. I have noticed some effects, but I only started pretty recently.
I guess that's an interesting way of getting it because a lot of the stuff is basically super easy to get if you're female, but if you're male, born male, it tries to block it from you.
Yeah, yeah, I've had the same thing. I know what you mean.
Do you plan on leaving Romania for somewhere else in the future?
Yes, I think when I'll grow up, I definitely would like to move to a different country, one that is a bit more open-minded about this kind of stuff. Kind of grew up in a pretty split apart household, and now that I'm a bit older, I think that really stayed with me. I would not want to keep living with my current family because of just the way they've treated me overall.
Yeah, and because you're in the EU, it shouldn't be too hard to like move somewhere else in Europe.
Yeah, I would probably go to some place like the Netherlands. Seems like a good place to go. There's a lot of young people that go there. And I've heard Dutch isn't that hard to learn, so it should be very possible.
Yeah, what's nice about Europe is that there are a lot of different places, so often you can find somewhere that you feel like it will be a good place for you if you don't like a current European country.
Yeah, I can agree. I think the EU really benefits us with that regard. It's very easy to move.
So, how is your transition going currently?
My transition.
Did you like try to socially transition at all, or is it just taking those pills?
Oh no, I also definitely tried dressing up and, acting in a more feminine manner, but for the most part, I don't think I'm really able to do much more in public, for example. Has to be very, very kept to myself.
Yeah, that's understandable very much. So, yeah, and I do
Hmm.
hear like a lot of people struggling transitioning before 18 with all this gatekeeping and transphobic policies where they like do everything to block it.
Yeah.
High school is just also very hard to deal with. As someone who socially transitioned at the end of high school, I could imagine how much worse it was if you did it like having a whole year or more left of school.
Oh, that doesn't sound very encouraging. I would wish that Transmaxxing healthcare would become a bit more available across Europe. I mean, we do have it pretty good, but I think we're still far off from the ideal.
Yeah, I think that government controlled healthcare hasn't worked out too well for trans people. And we see that, for example, in America, the system works a lot better for trans people because there isn't as much government control over it.
Oh, would you really say that they have it better in America?
I mean, it seems to work better for trans people when it comes to like trans stuff. I don't know about like the other healthcare
It
scenarios
seems like
though.
there's a little bit of a mixed bag even with trans healthcare. Like they allow Spyro to be the only anti-androgen that you're allowed to take, which is weird out of all of them. That one should be banned as well, if we're being honest. But yeah,
I think that Vika is allowed as well, which might be one of the better ones. I think in Europe you can use both Vika and Cypro. I'm not sure if Cypro is better though. And yeah, you don't even need those pills anyway. Like you can do transition just via estrogen. You don't need the other stuff really.
Oh,
yeah.
so
Thankfully,
how
monotherapy
exactly
does it all.
would I go about doing that?
I mean, like with estrogen, you can like either find somewhere to get some form of it. There are like different options, like even birth control, which is kind of bad. But then there is those like online sellers who don't really go via the official system that like send it to you. And then of course you have to trust that the estrogen you get is good and not like poison or anything.
Oh yeah.
Like the advantage with that is that often you can get like injectables that they are better if you get what you're paying for and they didn't screw up or try to poison you. You are actually better off that way than via the official route or like buying some mediocre pills because injections are more convenient and more effective. So it's actually the best option if you can access it.
Mm, yeah, but can I ask, like, how expensive would this all be if you wanted, like, to continuously take estrogen?
It can be actually very affordable, so DIY being more so affordable in some circumstances. For me, it
Mhm.
costs around, it's almost $100 a month for my pills, and I get them from a prescription. But it can go as low as maybe like 30 or $40 a month kind of thing. And, even less if you like get the powders and make your own injectables, but that's a little far for most people.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I think it's like $50 a year for injectable, something like that, if you go the DIY route.
That's like 250 lei. It's quite a bit. I mean, for example, in my household, I kind of just had my older brother like only have to cut grass and gather it up, right, to feed it to the animals during the winter. Like that's the main way that we'd make money in the summer at least. But then throughout the rest of the year, other, my dad kind of let me to maybe start a second family in Germany. But yeah, so I don't really have that much money as a whole, as a household. And my mother kind of resorts to um, infrequent prostitution from time to time. But I would have to say that like 250 lei, that's almost 1/5 of what we make every month. So like I don't know if they would
Well,
really
that's for a
accept
whole
that.
year, though. Remember, that's for a whole year on
That's
DIY.
for a year?
Yeah.
Oh,
It can be a little
okay.
bit more expensive if you go like the more luxurious routes, like the
Oh
pharmacies
yeah,
and
okay.
such.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's more expensive to get it via like a pharmaceutical company, but then you get like probably better quality control. But surprisingly, I haven't actually heard of anyone getting into trouble from one of the like sellers we have listed. But there was from Otokonoke Pharmacy people got cut here in their vials. This actually happened. It's kind of
Oh,
funny. I don't think it's too dangerous, but it's like a big red flag.
yeah, yeah. Oh, but that's quite affordable then, if it's per year.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's great news.
it's relatively cheap to get those injectables. And you can
Yeah.
like go via a seller that has some repetition. So you don't have to like get screwed over. So you have to be careful with some of the like new sellers who haven't been doing that stuff for a while because then you can like get into trouble. But if there is someone who
Hmm.
has sold it for like years and years and nobody has getting any problem with them, it's more likely that you will not have any issues. And this is what a lot of trans people have to do because there isn't really any other option that really works.
Yeah.
If you in the audience DIY, perhaps you can join our Discord and tell us where you get your supply in medical to help us give a more verified sources of people we should go to.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have a Politburo member here who did transition at 14. So Ning, can you talk about your experience early on?
Okay, so basically, I realized I was trans when I was 13, but like I was really watching a lot of trans influencers and like that made me realize it a bit early on. Because like I knew about LGBTQ like when I was like 10. You know, like the quarantine was really making things popular. I think that it's a bit harder when you're like younger because obviously because of parents, like if they don't support you, like beginning hormones is a bit harder, like most countries, it isn't legal to be under 18 and start hormones or, blockers. And it's a bit hard to transition if your parents aren't really supportive of you being trans. But my mom is pretty supportive because, like, she's always knew about LGBTQ. She just didn't really expect me to be trans. And yeah, like, in my country, it isn't really like popular for kids to transition. Every trans person who's like famous here is really just like they started transitioning when they were a bit older because of like parents and society and it being like really hard to start hormones before 18.
So how did it work out for you?
So basically, I had a few friends who were like LGBTQ and like supportive because it isn't really a trend, but like I told them that I was trans and they were like super supportive and they like started supporting me and everything was fine, but like I knew I had to tell my mom that I was trans. So like I told her, but it was a bit hard for me because she didn't really like understand it fully. So I had to like explain a lot of things to her. She like kept asking questions and like then started telling like most of my family. Like I didn't tell most of my family like personally, like she just did it. I think that's better because like some of them I'm not really close with them. So like I don't know how I would tell them that I was trans. And so I like kind of started, dressing more feminine, but like not really in a femboy style. Like I just acted like myself and there are some people who like really just didn't like me and kind of started like trying to bully me.
I have a question. Did you start presenting more femme before or after starting hormones?
So like I'm I'm trying to get on hormones, but that was before hormones because like when you're younger, it's a little bit easier to pass. But like it depends. Like I'm just early in my transition, so like I can't pass from day one.
Very few people can pass from day one unless God tier genetics.
It's mostly about like how you present yourself, how you act, and like you obviously have to have like long hair and like the basic stuff like every trans person does, but like it's a bit easier because your body hasn't developed like more masculine that much, but genetics do play a big part in how much you pass.
So Were you able to access HRT already at 14?
No, because like my country, like excluding the DIY HRT, accessing hormones is a bit hard because like in general, like most endocrinologists don't know about trans people and like HRT, so they're hesitant to prescribe it like even to adults. So yeah, it's kind of hard to do it. So, like outside of DIY, I can't really access it very easily.
So you never started, but you want to in the future. Am I understanding correctly?
Like I want to start in the future. Like obviously every trans person does. It's just a bit hard, but I'll probably start sooner than later because like I think I really just need it.
But you don't want to like do DIY HRT. You want to like go the official route.
I mean, I'll probably have to like try DIY and then go to the official route. But I'm kind of like scared of DIY HRT because like I know it's not that big of a deal. It's like it's estrogen, but I don't know, I'm just kind of scared to mess something up. But I'll probably just have to DIY HRT and then like go to the official route like later on. It's like here they require you to have a gender dysphoria diagnosis, and it's pretty hard to find a psychiatrist who will, diagnose you if you're under 18.
Yeah, of course, it's general that they make it really hard for people under 18 to transition because it's politically sensitive, so they might allow some people to transition, but there will be a lot of gatekeeping. You have to like jump through all those hoops. So what end up happening is that you end up having to like rely on DIY HRT instead because it's almost impossible to get it via the official route. It is maybe not ideal, but it's the situation we are in here because of politics.
Yeah, it's mostly politics, but it's also just there's not a lot of trans people in my country, so there hasn't been like that much of a need to like teach professionals how to like describing HRT and like about trans people in general. Like it's not about waiting lists like the UK. But yeah, it's mostly the political climate.
Are you able to pass now just by cross-dressing?
Well, it mostly depends. I can't really like put in like super much effort with like makeup and wigs, but like it's working sometimes because like sometimes people do like mistake me. Like sometimes I pass strangers, but it's a bit hard for now. Like I have to put in a bit more effort, but I think I can.
Yeah, and if you can already pass without HRT, then you should be good on HRT as well, because on HRT you will become more feminine, and it makes like everything way easier, of course, everyone knows that here.
Well, yeah, like most of the people who I see that start transitioning like before 18, they sort of already passed before hormones. Like if they put in effort, they can reasonably pass before they take hormones, before 18.
And I think this is what a lot of people want, and a lot of like older trans people say that they wish that they had started at your age, something like that.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for the like older trans people who kind of like hate younger transitioners because they started earlier, like they realized earlier, they like came out to everyone earlier and started hormones and like whatever, but I don't think that it's that hard to pass, even if you start at like 20.
I've seen like a lot of successful transitions way later as well. It's just that a lot of the time you might need like FFS, something like that.
Well, yeah, but like before like 20 years ago, transitioning before 18 pretty much never happened. And trans people still like were able to pass most of the time. So the whole like starting HRT at 20 is too late is kind of like it's just the modern way of viewing it because you see like very few people who transition at like 15, 16 and like so on. And you start to get like, oh, I wish I was like them and like start feeling sad because like you think it's a wasted opportunity.
It's also that people want to be as pretty as possible. We live in a society where being beautiful is valued highly. So then of course people will be motivated and be jealous of people who look better than them. It's not just about passing, it's about becoming as attractive as possible.
Well, yes, sometimes like people who transition early still aren't like the prettiest because cis women aren't like super duper pretty. And it's mostly just trans people thinking that they don't look like models or like super pretty that they don't pass. When most cis women look average most of the time.
Yeah, but the thing is you don't see average people, you see the hottest ones on Instagram and everything, and with filters and a lot of like fakery as well.
Yeah, a lot of it is like makeup, filters, and like lighting, angles. Like social media really just paints a lie to people. One thing I kind of see is that a lot of people are against kids transitioning like before 18 because of the transitioners who are mostly F2M or like they were very confused, thought they were non-binary and like started the hormones super fast. Like that's part of the reason why a lot of people don't want people under 18 to transition.
Yeah, it's because of people born female or transition to male. And ironically, a lot of those people aren't even on HRT anyway.
Yeah, that's a big part of why transitioning under 18 has become harder to happen because of people born female who are trans and aren't really like sure of it, but they want to start hormones like super fast and they detransition later when they realize that they just don't feel trans anymore.
Actually, I think a lot of them just don't want to deal with the male social role, to be honest. Like a lot of those people had gender dysphoria and like took HRT for that. It's not really the transmaxes who end up detransitioning for the most part.
I mean, yeah, some of them just feel like being trans is a trend, so they like just do it to be part of like a friends group or like just to feel more special. And like being trans has sort of become a trend because of too cute and like so on. So that's part of why they did transition when they reach a later stage of their life. But I haven't really seen a lot of people born male who decide to detransition.
Yeah, it's mostly people born female, but then government end up restricting it from everyone.
Well, yeah,
And I think this marks the end of episode 50 of the Transmaxxing podcast. I hope that Green Biscuit will have a good experience with transitioning, and goodbye everyone.